Hey kids, hey kids, hey kids, hey kids. You all know what time it is. It's time for Karch
and Wendy
and Bluster
and Bliss
to tell you what today's adventure is.
Hey kids.
Hey kids,
Hey kids.
hey kids. You all know what time it is. Story of Skull, a Gallery of Seasons story. Spring World Story 2 by Brian J. Klink. Hi, my name is Skull. I'm known as the haunting spirit resident here in Spring World. Some of you might recall my appearance in Spring World Story 1, Spring Fields. I'm here to tell you even more about our fun and festive place, Spring World, and to share with you some Spring World secrets. You see, Spring World is one of 4 worlds found in the Gallery of Seasons. If you look closely at the Spring World painting, you won't find me, but you can see everyone else. In fact, if you explore all of the 4 worlds in the Gallery of Seasons and the more than 40 characters, I'm the only character you won't find. I know. How could this happen? I've looked everywhere. It's so unfair. When I realized that I was the only resident in Spring World that was not visible at a painting, I felt left out. And everyone knows when you get left out of a group, it hurts your feelings. At first, I cried and cried, but that didn't help. Then I became angry and stormed and stomped around. I felt that my situation was hopeless, but that didn't help either. I learned that being sad and angry hadn't changed a thing, so I had to figure out what to do next. Finally, I decided what I needed. I needed a plan. But I had never created a plan before. Have you? Well, I'll share the secret of how I created my very first plan. Maybe you could create one too someday. Well, I found out there are 3 parts to a plan: a problem, options, and an action. And a plan almost always starts with a problem. To get started, I had to figure out why. Not being in the Spring World painting was making me so sad and angry. Well, after thinking about it for a while, I realized not being the painting was not the problem. I also realized that being sad and angry didn't help. Then I figured out what was bothering me. I felt overlooked. I believed that nobody would notice me since I wasn't in the Spring World painting. And I wanted to be included in the stories, like the other Spring World residents. I was so relieved to have figured out the problem. That whole time I had just wanted to be included in the Spring World stories. There had to be a way to do this. But I needed to move on to the second part of creating a plan: exploring my options. So, keeping the goal that I wanted to be included in the Spring World stories in mind, I started to think. Did I want to stay the same or try something new? Well, staying the same would be easier, but it probably wouldn't get me into many Spring World stories. So, it made sense to consider trying something new. But what? After thinking further, I realized that all the residents in Spring World were good, except for Viper. So, maybe Spring World needed someone else to spice things up. A resident who would possibly make the stories even more interesting, stir things up a bit. So, I decided to be a little bit different, a little bit bad. I'd be the Spring World spook. By now, my excitement was growing. Just a short while ago, I was sad and angry, but no longer. I truly couldn't believe how much better it felt. Having a plan to try something new was wonderful. Some say they thought they even saw me smile. Do you? But then I realized that being the Spring World spook might be too much. Spring World was a big place with so many residents. Now, I was concerned that I might be in too many Spring World stories. Clearly, my plan needed more focus. Why? Because Spring World was too big with too many residents for just one spook. So, I looked at each of these issues separately and my plan became clearer. First, I decided that I would focus my spooking on the far side of Natural Springs, near the Springfields, Pine Tree Pass, and Ridge Mountains. This would make things much more manageable. Then, I decided that I would focus my spooking on the two most visible Spring World residents, Wendy and Tang. This would also make things much more manageable, and I would be in just the right amount of Spring World stories. I was so happy. My plan was now clear. To make sure that I was in just the right amount of Spring World stories. Whenever Wendy and Tang decided to cross the natural springs, I would try and spook them. So that's the story of Skull. Now you know that he was not found in the Spring World painting, and he felt sad and angry, until he decided to create a plan. After identifying the problem, exploring the options, and focusing on actions, he felt very happy. His plan to become the Spring World spook on the far side of Natural Springs and focus on Wendy and Tang should also achieve his goal, to be included in just the right amount of Spring World stories. All of us here in Spring World hope you enjoyed our time together, and you will look for more adventures from the Gallery of Seasons.
Hey, Wendy here. Before you go, how about we give you a tool for making your own plan, just in case you have a problem you need to solve someday. On the next page, you will find an example with a blank template you can use whenever you need it. In the example, the first part of a plan, the problem, is I'm hungry. My options are make a sandwich, shop for groceries, or wait until later. My action was to make a sandwich. When you have a problem, you can fill in the blanks to help you decide what you should do.